They say the full moon calls to all wild things, but what if I told you it remembers her name? Not the names of men who howled for conquest and cursed their blood for power, but hers, the one who walked first, clawed first, killed first, not from rage but from necessity, a guardian and a predator, a she-wolf. Welcome to the she-wolf's legacy, female werewolf history and folklore, a tale carved in myth and marrow, where transformation is more than terror. It is ritual. It is resistance. It is the sound of ancient feminine rage echoing through time, cloaked in fur and moonlight. From the wild forests of Slavic legend to the sacred hills of Rome, from Celtic mist to the haunted tundras of the north, we follow her, the female werewolf, untamed, powerful, feared. So, if you're fascinated by she-wolf mythology, dark feminine energy and folklore, and the raw power of transformation under a blood moon, stay close. And if you're still listening, still breathing, beneath this silver-lit sky, don't just watch, become part of the pack. Like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell. Before the howl fades and you miss her call, she's already watching. Long before the silver screen turned werewolves into monsters of masculine torment, ancient cultures spoke of something older, something stranger, something female. The she-wolf. In ancient Rome, there was Lupa, the divine wolf goddess who suckled Romulus and Remus, founders of the empire. Her teats were not just symbols of nourishment, but of primal power. The Romans did not fear her. They revered her because she was not cursed. She was chosen, sacred, a symbol of nature's ferocity wrapped in feminine form. And through her, the lineage of Rome was born, not from men, but from a she-wolf's mercy. In Celtic mythology, wolf women were shapeshifters called fowl. These were not tragic souls doomed to hunger. They were protectors, guardians of children, warriors who walked between spirit and skin. It was said they could run across frozen rivers without sinking, howl blessings into battlefields and smell betrayal before it was spoken. And in Slavic folklore, the Volchica, a female werewolf spirit, was a liminal force, not always evil, not always good. She appeared at thresholds, crossroads, wells, places where decisions split lives in two. Sometimes she blessed women with cunning and escape. Other times she punished those who crossed moral lines. The duality was not a flaw. It was her essence. In these tales, female werewolves weren't just mirror images of men with fangs. They were something entirely different. Embodiments of the dark feminine, of power that defied domestication. They symbolized independence, danger, wisdom, and rage, and always transformation. Because where male werewolves were often cursed for their violence, female werewolves were changed for their resistance. To be wild in a woman was never just feared, it was punished, or mythologized. And so the story spread, woman to woman, tribe to tribe, etched not just in scrolls or stone, but in warning, in whisper, in lullaby. As we move forward through time, we'll uncover how these primal archetypes shape-shifted across cultures, sometimes feared, sometimes worshipped, but always walking the line between predator and protector. Transformation has always been the crux of werewolf mythology. But for the she-wolf, it wasn't just a physical metamorphosis, it was a social betrayal. Her transformation was a declaration, I will not be tamed. In medieval Europe, when the church began drawing lines between the sacred and the monstrous, the image of the female shapeshifter became taboo. Witches were accused of consorting with wolves. Women were burned for running wild in the woods, for dancing under the moon, for healing with herbs and howling in grief. Their freedom became their curse. The she-wolf, once a guardian, was now recast as a seductress, a sorceress, a threat to order. Her transformation, once divine, was demonized. This shift wasn't random, it was psychological. In a world governed by patriarchy and fear of female autonomy, the werewolf woman became a vessel for everything society tried to suppress. Female anger, sexuality, rebellion, instinct. In tales from the French countryside, the louve-garou was said to be a woman who turned into a wolf after being wronged by a man. A betrayal, an abuse, a loss. Her pain did not break her. It changed her, gave her claws, made her hunt, And still, she was blamed for what she became. This theme repeats across the world. In Russia, women accused of transforming into wolves were often midwives, healers, or widows, women with knowledge or power outside the control of men. In Germanic lore, the Frauenwolf was feared for her ability to lure men into the forest, where they were never seen again. In Scandinavian sagas, female warriors known as shield maidens were said to don wolf pelts in battle, invoking the spirit of the beast to fight with berserker rage. Their strength was praised, but only so long as it served a male-led war. So what does a she-wolf symbolize? Everything patriarchal systems feared? A woman who cannot be domesticated? A protector who bites back? A lover who may devour you? A mother who becomes monstrous when her children are threatened? And so the legend of the werewolf woman evolved, not just as a horror story, but as a coded map of feminine rage and resilience. The howl. It's not always for the hunt. Sometimes it's a scream from centuries of silence. You might ask, were these she-wolves ever real? Did they walk among us, or are they only echoes of imagination? The truth lies somewhere between myth and memory, in a shadowed place where history touches the supernatural. Throughout history, reports of real werewolf sightings in mythology have circulated, and while most focus on men, there are chilling exceptions. Forgotten accounts, veiled in rumor, often dismissed or erased. Yet they persist. In 17th century France, during the height of the werewolf trials, whispers spread of a female beast in the forest near Gévaudan. Witnesses claimed she wasn't entirely wolf nor entirely woman. Locals spoke of seeing a tall, fur-covered figure, eyes glowing red, claws dripping blood, but curiously, never attacking women or children. Some called her La Mère de Bêtes, the mother of beasts. Some said she mourned. Others said she guarded. In Bavarian folk tales, there is the story of the Waldhex, a wolf woman who appeared only to those lost or near death in the woods. Survivors said she looked like a woman cloaked in fur, walking on all fours until the moment she stood upright, 7 feet tall, with silver eyes that saw into your soul. Sometimes she killed, sometimes she led the lost to safety. Always, she vanished with the dawn, and in the American Ozarks, settler legends speak of a wolf witch who walked barefoot through the trees. They say she transformed beneath the full moon, and if you heard her howl, it meant death or deliverance. The tales don't agree. What's striking in these accounts isn't their consistency, it's the contradiction. She's predator and protector, monster and savior, curse and cure. Because that's the power of the werewolf transformation story. It's psychological, symbolic, personal, and perhaps most disturbingly, relatable. In nearly every culture where wolf shapeshifters appear, there are also warnings, not just of claws but of knowledge, of women who know too much, feel too deeply, break too freely, as if the she-wolf isn't just outside, she's inside, waiting, watching, whispering. She paused at the tree line, breath fogging beneath the moon, and whispered, not to the night, but to you. If you can still hear me, leave a trace, a sign, before the silence becomes permanent. This is your moment, curious mind. Like, share, subscribe, and keep the legacy alive. The she-wolf has survived centuries of fear, fire, and folklore. But in modern times, she doesn't just survive, she evolves. In cinema, television, literature, and digital storytelling, the image of the female werewolf is transforming from the victim of a curse into the wielder of it. She is no longer just something to be feared. She is someone to be understood, and sometimes admired. Think of Ginger Fitzgerald in Ginger Snaps, a teenage girl whose werewolf transformation mirrors puberty, menstruation, and the uncontainable force of female identity. Her story is tragic, yes, but it's also a biting allegory. Becoming a woman means becoming a threat in a world that wants you docile. Or look to Penny Dreadful's Ethan Chandler and his lover Brona, who dies and is reborn not as a damsel, but as Lily, a creature of rage and revolution. While not strictly a werewolf, she channels the same archetypal transformation, one born of pain and returned with vengeance. Even video games and comics are shifting the lens. She-wolves now lead packs, They are protagonists, not plot devices. No longer confined to moonlit metaphors, they embody raw feminine power and independence. And it's not just entertainment. The symbol of the she-wolf is now a cultural emblem, a meme of reclamation. She-wolf tattoos are worn by survivors of abuse, illness, heartbreak, as marks of resilience. Feminist circles invoke the lone wolf as a symbol of independence, breaking the expectation that womanhood must mean softness. Writers and creators use she-wolf imagery to confront dark feminine symbolism, not to sanitize it, but to own it. Because what was once labeled monstrous is now seen as necessary. The hunger, the growl, the transformation. It's no longer shameful, it's sacred. In reclaiming the legend of the werewolf woman, we aren't just rewriting stories, we are remembering them, reconnecting with a mythic truth. That inside every woman lives something ancient, powerful, untamed. And when the world pushes too hard, she doesn't cry, she howls. The she-wolf isn't bound by borders. Her howl has echoed through every corner of the world, adapting to language, landscape, and belief. Yet in every tale, no matter the soil or skin, she represents the same thing. Transformation born of instinct, power, and pain. In Mesoamerican culture, the Nahuales were shapeshifters, men and women believed to turn into animals under moonlight. Some Nahual legends speak of wolf women who guided souls through the jungle, protectors of the natural world, feared and revered. Their power came from a spiritual connection to the earth, what some now call dark feminine energy in folklore. In India, ancient Hindu texts mention Rakshasas, female demons who could take animal form. While often feared, these beings were also guardians, defenders of forest temples and the cosmic order. Some scholars link them to wolf shapeshifter myths, pointing to regional tribal beliefs where wolf women were seen as divine enforcers of justice. In North African Bedouin lore, the story of the Kashkasha, a woman cursed to roam the desert as a beast, tells of her transformation not from sin, but from betrayal. Her love was broken, her form followed. But even as a wolf, she is said to whisper through the dunes, protecting wandering children from spirits who steal the breath. Among the Ainu of Japan, the Horkyu Kamui, the wolf goddess, was both feared and honored. Female shamans claimed to channel her essence, moving between spirit and body, wolf and woman, protector and storm. Her howl, it was said, could split mountains or mend them. And in the indigenous stories of North America, tales from Ojibwe and Cree traditions speak of wolf women who walk between worlds, teaching lessons, delivering warnings. They do not transform for spectacle, they shift for purpose. Each of these tales, far apart and yet so alike, suggests something profound. The she-wolf is not just a fantasy of the West. She is a universal archetype. She is history's recurring heartbeat, pulsing through cultures that sensed her before they named her. How did these legends spread? Some say through migration, others say conquest. But perhaps it was memory, something ancient buried in our collective unconscious. A truth we carry in story, dream, and DNA, because every culture has something to say about the wolf woman. And in doing so, it reveals something deeper about itself, what it fears in women and what it secretly admires. So what is the she-wolf really? A myth? A monster? A misunderstood fragment of our subconscious? In psychology, especially through the lens of Jungian analysis, the she-wolf lives within the shadow self, that part of us we repress, deny, fear. She is instinct and chaos, but also intuition and liberation. To dream of the she-wolf is to confront the wild within, the side that doesn't ask permission, that defends when pushed, that loves with ferocity and mourns with growls. In many ways, she represents what Carl Jung called the individuation process, the journey toward an authentic self by embracing the very aspects we're told to suppress. In men, she may appear in dreams as the anima, the feminine soul buried beneath armor. In women, she often surfaces as a call, a cry to reclaim power, rage, sensuality, instinct, and identity. She is not evil. She is integration. And when a woman identifies with the she-wolf, it doesn't mean she's dangerous. It all means she's aware of her cycles, of her silence, of her scream. This is why modern audiences are reclaiming the werewolf transformation, not as a curse but as metaphor, a shedding of expectations, a rising from trauma, a ritual of becoming. Because sometimes, the most powerful form of healing is to stop hiding the beast and instead let her lead. So the next time you hear the phrase she-wolf, don't think of horror. Think of herstory. Think of a woman at the edge of the forest beneath the full moon, tearing off everything that was never hers to wear, and listen, she's still howling. You've reached the end, or have you? The howl may fade, but the resonance remains, in the flicker of instinct, in the reflection you tried not to recognize. Because the most haunting myths are never about something out there. They're about what waits inside. So if the she-wolf stirred something in you, curiosity, unease, recognition, follow it. Explore more werewolf transformation stories, psychological myths, and ancient archetypes in our curated playlist below. But be warned, once you've heard her howl, you can never go back to silence. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Remember, fear seekers, in the world of horror, the scariest things happen when you least expect them. And trust me, you don't want to be left in the dark. Welcome to the darkness.